What are we discussing on today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast? How the D-backs barely survived their series against the Chicago Cubs, and looking at the new revamped D-backs bullpen.
You are Locked on Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas, multimedia journalist and a graphic designer. So please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there, you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, we're going to be discussing that series against the Chicago Cubs, talking about the D-backs shuffling around their bullpen, and then taking a look at some trends and adjustments the D-backs should make entering their next series against the Tampa Bay Rays. So jam-packed pod as always for you guys, but first I want to say thank you for making Locked on Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. And one of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube. We're trying to go live Sunday through Thursday after D-backs games. So if you're popping in, please drop a comment in the YouTube section. We are trying to make this an interactive live show where I read your comments live on air as I'm doing the show. So please drop comments in the YouTube section as the podcast is going on. And please hit subscribe to Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube, or follow me on social media at CareerThomas24 for my personal account, or look up Locked on Diamondbacks on both Twitter and Instagram so you can see when I go live, because I always tweet before I go live. So please follow me on social media and please hit subscribe on Locked on Diamondbacks so you know when I go live. But now let's get into the podcast. All right, back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. And now let's discuss D-backs versus Chicago Cubs, because I am happy for this series to be over. The Cubs look like a really good team offensively, like a offense that can definitely win a World Series, because I do not want to face Kyle Tucker anymore, Ian Happ, Michael Busch. Like, those Cubs were so fantastic offensively, and it wasn't just their offense. They also had the weather behind them, as we saw two massive rain delays on Sunday, massive winds and gusts all weekend long. Like, a very weird series for the D-backs, as they were struggling to catch balls in the outfield as there was rain and slippage, and this was a weird series overall. But you can't deny that Cubs offense looked fantastic, and I am glad for this series to be over, because I thought the D-backs were going to be swept. But thankfully, Josh Naylor came through in a big way on Sunday, providing most of the offense, came through in extra innings. And then, of course, welcome back Drey Jameson, the debut of the reliever for the D-backs, who we all love, missed all of last season. We know this is a guy who can throw 100 consistently, looked great in spring training, has had a great start to the season in AAA with the Reno Aces. Now he's on the major league level with the D-backs, and we'll talk about the whole bullpen shuffle in segment number 2. But great to see Drey Jameson back with the D-backs, as this was just such a weird game on Sunday. Merrill Kelly was fantastic, but he had to leave the game early due to cramps. But not surprising, considering it was probably a lot of standing up and sitting down with all the rain delays, and he probably got cold. Like, it was just weird weather this weekend in this series. And so we're not too worried about Merrill Kelly going forward. It sounds like his health is going to be fine. So don't feel worried if you were concerned with Merrill Kelly leaving this game, because I think the concern level, it sounds like it's pretty low. He had a fantastic start Merrill Kelly pitch into the 6th inning. Like, if anything, another encouraging start from Merrill Kelly, where once again, you just take out that one start against the New York Yankees, and it has been a great season for Kelly so far. Every start, he's pitched into the 6th inning at least with 2 earned runs or less. Outside that Yankee start where he gave up 9 earned runs, he's pitching into at least the 6th inning and giving you 2 earned runs or less in every single start outside that Yankee start. So really a good season by Merrill Kelly so far. And then just looking at the rest of this series, I mean, the offense for the Dbacks really did not live up to their billing, because going to this series, you had to match that Chicago Cubs offense. We saw Suzuki homer multiple times. Kyle Tucker felt like he was crushing the ball every time. Like, so many guys in those Cubs, so many guys in that Cubs lineup were just crushing it all series, and they've been crushing it all season. And for the Dbacks, Corbin Carroll, he put in work in this series. He went 0 on Sunday, breaking his hitting streak, but he's been fantastic for the D-backs all season. Josh Naylor was really good in this series in Friday's game and in Sunday's game. But outside of those two, the rest of the lineup really went cold. Runners in scoring position, they were 4 for 14. Excuse me, let me double check. They were 4 for 14, yes, on Sunday. They were let me see. On Saturday, they were 0 for 7. And so those last 2 games, they were absolutely atrocious with runners in scoring position. And we know the second half of the lineup has been struggling mightily. As soon as you get past Josh Naylor in the lineup, the rest of the offense hasn't done much. Gurriel did have a couple hits on Sunday, but overall, the Gurriels, the Suarez's, the McCarthy's, the Herreras, the Morenos, like once you get past the cleanup hitter for the D-backs, it has been a struggle offensively for this team. And that's really what we need to see improve with this lineup. Is we need to see the second half of this lineup really start to get going, see the righties in this lineup really start to get going, because there's just so much pressure at the top of this lineup. It's really not fair to those guys. Tim Tawa, I thought he had an up and down series as well. Offensively, I like Tawa, but there's just so many plays defensively where maybe he makes the diving play and he goes to get up to his feet, makes the transfer, and the ball just slips out of his glove. Or a lot of times he can knock the ball down, but he can't finish the play. It just feels like Tawa defensively is holding the D-backs back a little bit, but hard to justify playing Garrett Hampson because he's giving you nothing offensively. And so kind of a struggle right now in that backup Ketel Marte position, because Tawa offensively feels like he's productive, but defensively shaky. And then Garrett Hampson feels like the vice versa of that. So a little bit of a struggle there, obviously, when you're trying to replace Ketel Marte. And then the D-backs rotation, like Merrill Kelly was great, but another start where I'm waiting for Corbin Burnes to look fantastic. Another shaky Zach Gallen start where he gets absolutely rocked. Like, you don't like to see that if you're a D-backs fan. Your 2 frontline starters just like not showing up at all in the series, going against another very good National League team with the best offense in baseball. Like, it would have been cool if Corbin Burnes, your franchise guy, and Zach Gallen, your number 2 starter, it would have been great if those 2 guys went into Chicago and shut down that Cubs offense. Unfortunately, that did not happen. I still think the D-backs team looks like a playoff team. I wouldn't be too worried about that, but for them to enter that real World Series contender level, they have to clean up some of their obvious flaws with the front line of the rotation, with the back end of the lineup. Like, there's some obvious flaws that this D-backs team needs to fix. But at the end of the day, they're still sitting at 13-9, even after their loss today. It's not like the sky is falling down. Like, I don't want to be too dramatic about the D-back season. They're still 2.5 games back of the San Diego Padres. They're 4th in their division. If you put their team record against the rest of Major League Baseball, they would be like the 5th best team in all of Major League Baseball. So even though it was a down series against the Chicago Cubs, do have to keep in mind the bigger picture. This D-backs team overall still playing well, getting off to a better start than they were last season. So still want to keep that in perspective, because if they were in any other division outside the NOS, we would feel really good about where the D-backs are right now in their standings. So yes, obvious flaws with the lineup, with the rotation. I think the D-backs are going to fix that. And hopefully one way the D-backs fix some of their flaws is with their bullpen, because we saw them do a little bullpen shuffle this past weekend, calling up some guys, sending some guys down. So we'll break down the new D-backs bullpen in segment number 2. But hey, I first want to talk to you guys about wonderful pistachios, because looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I love wonderful pistachios because they have the salted with the shell, salted no shell, no salt, no shell. You could do chili lime roasted. Like, they have so many different crazy flavors. You can have it with the shell, you can have it unshelled. Like, it's the variety for me as to why I love my wonderful pistachios. And so if you want a snack that tastes both delicious, that's healthy, and if you're a guy like me that's a gym rat trying to bulk before the summer, trust me, get you this high protein snack and wonderful pistachios. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, and now let's talk about the D-backs bullpen shuffle, because the D-backs have revamped their bullpen. If you guys watched the game on Friday, maybe the game of the year by the Arizona Diamondbacks, all down to the 8th inning, because it was insane. The D-backs were down 7-1. They scored 10 in the 8th inning, and then all of a sudden, the Cubs come storming back in the bottom of the 8th because of Bryce Jarvis and Joe Mantiply struggle, giving up run after run in the bottom of the 8th. And because of that, the D-backs decided to shuffle their bullpen. And it's not just because of Mantiply and Jarvis struggling. AJ Puk was also placed on the 15-day injured list with elbow inflammation. And so a lot going on right now with the D-backs bullpen. AJ Puk is a guy who has had some questionable health history, has undergone Tommy John surgery in his career. So I will say, yes, it's only 15 days. Something to watch with AJ Puk just because of his health history already in question. But Jarvis and Joe Mantiply, they're being sent down to the minors to work on their game. Jarvis is still a guy I like as a potential long reliever, mid reliever for the D-backs going forward. He's still a guy that could throw high velocity, upper 90s. Like, I still think there's a world where Jarvis could be a fine reliever for the D-backs. Joe Mantiply, however, I love what he did for the D-backs a few years ago, but I feel like at this point of his career, Joe Mantiply is past his prime and over the hill, and it's probably for the best if all parties went in separate directions. And so the D-backs, revamping their bullpen, have now added 3 new pitchers to their staff. We saw one of them debut today. Welcome back, Drey Jameson for the D-backs. We, of course, all love Drey Jameson as the guy that could throw upper 90s, throw 100 consistently. We love to see that. But it's just not those guys. We also got JP Firestone coming in, and we also have Juan Murillo also coming in. And the interesting thing about these 3 guys is Drey Jameson, high velocity arm, back end, high leverage reliever type, like a dude that could be a future closer. If we did not have Justin Martinez, Drey Jameson has the talent to be a closer of the future. And then Juan Murillo, he's really interesting because he's another high velocity arm with a high ground ball rate. Imagine if you took like AJ Puk and added him with Ryan Thompson. Like, that is what Juan can do. In his debut with the D-backs, fastball averaged 98.7 miles per hour. So D-backs just added 2 guys that could throw 99 consistently in Drey and Juan. And then in JP, you're adding a guy who is just your classic mid-leverage reliever. He's a low velo fastball guy with a little changeup slider action. But the interesting thing about JP Firestone is he has a track record and at least a history of being a good pitcher. In 2023, he got hurt, missed all of the season, came back to 24 with the Dodgers, and did not pitch well. But if you look at his career prior to the injury in 23, this was a guy that was on track to be a high leverage arm. in a bullpen. You look at his numbers in 21, a 2.73 ERA in 56 innings pitched. Then in 2022, he had a 0 ERA through his first 24 innings pitched, a .493 whip. Like, he was fantastic his last 2 seasons with the Tampa Bay Rays. And so for the D-backs, maybe he's not that level, but I think there is a world where JP could be really good for this D-back squad, be really effective. And it's not like they need him potentially for the whole season. There's still other relievers coming back for the D-backs with Kevin Ginkel and Kendall Graveman. I think the question is right now, who are those guys going to replace when they get healthy? Because I think for the D-backs, the question is Drey, Jameson, Juan, JP, and also probably a little Ryan Nelson. I'll throw him in the mix too because he's been a little shaky up and down. I still think the D-backs want to see him as a starter. So I think it's those 4 relievers with their jobs on the line. Who performs the best prior to Kevin Ginkel and Kendall Graveman coming back? I also think it matters if the D-backs decide if they want another lefty, because with AJ Puk going on the injured list and with Joe Mans probably going to AAA, the D-backs only have 1 lefty now in their bullpen. Personally, I don't think it matters that much. I'm the guy that's like, just add talent to your pen. Just have guys back there that could get outs in any sort of situation. Torey Lovullo, we like him, but he is so married to the platoon splits at times. We've seen him go with just the righty versus lefty matchup, or, the righty versus righty matchup just because of the platoon splits. But sometimes the numbers actually tell you this pitcher, for whatever reason, this right-handed pitcher is actually worse against right-handed batters. But sometimes we don't look at the numbers. We just see, oh, righty versus righty, let's go for that matchup. Sometimes there is a little bit deeper going in there, Torey Lovullo. So I do want to see going forward, how is Torey Lovullo going to now utilize his bullpen? Because with AJ Puk now on the injured list, does this mean Justin Martinez is now like the pseudo closer going forward? Like, can we stop doing the charade of Justin Martinez in the 7th inning and the 8th inning? Like, can we just now make him the full-time closer with AJ Puk out? Or is it still going to be the committee action? I feel like the 8th inning setup man is going to be more of the committee now. Like, is it going to be like a Jalen Beeks, Shelby Miller, like committee situation, the 8th inning, a little Drey, Jameson in the 7th inning? Like, very curious to see how this D-backs bullpen is going to be utilized going forward with guys like AJ Puk now on the injured list. But do like the idea of adding more velocity into the pen with Juan, with Drey, Jameson. Like, even though we lost a guy like AJ Puk, the D-backs probably added more velocity overall to their pen just this past weekend. So I do like that, because I do think that raises the ceiling when you have more high velocity arms. But if I can, real quick, if you guys want to indulge me, because I don't want to spend too much time talking about a game from a few days ago, but the game on Friday, when you do have the situation of D-backs deciding to go to Joe Mantiply, or deciding, should we go to Shelby Miller in this situation? Should we go to Justin Martinez in this situation? I'll ask the fans. I'll ask you guys. What do you guys think should have happened in that situation? Because I contend the D-backs should have just went to Shelby Miller. It sounded like Torey Lovullo was trying to save Shelby Miller for the 9th inning. Sounded like he felt like he utilized all his high leverage arms and Beeks, Martinez, Puk, all of them in the last series against the Miami Marlins. But I contend we just coddle and try to save our players way too much in Major League Baseball. I think Shelby Miller should just win out there in the 8th inning after Bryce Jarvis was struggling, and then you throw J Mart out in the 9th inning to close it. I know J Mart came out in the last 2 games against the Miami Marlins, but guess what? He threw 18 pitches total in back-to-back outings. 18 pitches total. So you're telling me the best reliever arguably in baseball can't go out there for a 3rd straight outing because 18 pitches total, plus he hadn't pitched. So that was April 16th and 17th. The last outing before that was April 13th. So he had 18 pitches total over the course of a 4-day span. I can't make him get up to like 30 pitches total in a 5-day span. Like, is that so insane to think Justin Martinez could go out there for 3 straight days? Like, on the season, he only has 102 pitches thrown total. Like, it's not like this guy already has 300 innings on his arm. Like, it's still early in the season. He's still fresh. I just think we save some of our best players too often in Major League Baseball. And I think Torey Lovullo does it too often. And it's like, don't save these guys for the end of the season, because if you don't win these games now, there might not be a postseason to save these guys for. And so that was like my one gripe with the game on Friday. Yes, I understand. It felt like we used all our high leverage relievers in that series against the Marlins. But I thought a guy like J Mart, who is super young, super fresh, 18 pitches total in 4 days, I think he could have went out there for a third day. But going forward, I hope J Mart is the everyday closer with AJ Puk now on the injured list. We got a bullpen revamp, reshuffle. So very curious to see how Torey Lovullo utilizes it going forward. Now we'll discuss some trends heading into the series against the Tampa Bay Rays in segment number 3. But hey, first I want to talk to you guys about Monarch Money, because ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, maybe read some comments from the YouTube comment section. I think I actually throw them on the screen. Here we go. Frog Fan says, does Torey want us to lose? That's a great question, Frog Fan. Also, he says, if I remember correctly, and again, sometimes when I read these comments live on air, I struggle. Frog Fan says, if I remember correctly, we were down Friday. And again, you know what? I'm not going to read this comment live, Frog Fan. I'm sorry. It sounds like you're getting pretty in-depth there. Once I see more than like 8 words in the comment, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't read that one. But now let's talk about some trends heading into the next series against the Tampa Bay Rays, because I think there's a few things we want to see, some things we want to see continue, and some things we want to see change. And one thing we already hinted on in the last segment was J Mart has to be the closer going forward. If you're telling me AJ Puk is on the injured list now, there is no reason J Mart shouldn't be the everyday closer now going forward. We saw him last year be absolutely fantastic as the Dbacks closer, sub 3 ERA, some elite strikeout numbers. And guess what? So far in 2025, it is more of the same with J Mart. He has literally a 0 ERA on the season. He has a .57 whip and almost 13 strikeouts per 9 innings. Like, J Mart is insane. The only issue he has is sometimes he likes to give up a walk every now and then, and still his walk rate in 2025 is 3.9%. His K rate is 38.5%. He is unhittable, and I don't understand why that guy isn't your closer. You have a lead, 3 runs or less, entering the 9th inning, and you have an unhittable reliever. Make J Mart the everyday closer. I understand there are situations when you're like, man, back against the wall here, bases loaded, 1 out, and we want to preserve the lead. Let's bring in our best reliever in J Mart. I understand that logic, but he is so good. I would much rather him protect the lead and give us the victory in the 9th, and trust a guy like Drey Jameson, who is also super talented, a guy like Shelby Miller, a guy like AJ Puk. Let's trust someone else to get us out the jam and put our best reliever in the 9th inning to deliver us the victory. So going forward in this series against the Tampa Bay Rays, and with AJ Puk on the injured list, let's hope J Mart is the everyday closer. This next one is a little bit more spicy, but as I mentioned earlier, with Tim Tawa, I like the bat, the glove a little shaky. With Garrett Hampson, I like the glove, the bat a little bit shaky. I think there's a way to fix that issue with Ketel Marte out. why don't we call up Jordan Lawler? I know we've been discussing it a little bit on the podcast, but the guy continues to rake in AAA. Every day I go on Twitter, I feel like I'm seeing a Jordan Lawler home run, a Jordan Lawler triple, two doubles off the wall. Like offensively, the guy is incredible. The ball's flying off the bat. He's got power to the gaps. He's got over the fence power. He's got great contact ability. And he has elite defensive skills. There's been so many plays I've seen on Twitter with him diving to the left, diving to the right, getting to his feet quickly, turning double plays. Like he has great instincts in the infield. I think right now the D-backs need a spark. The righties in the lineup, the Eugenio's, the Gurriel might be waking up a little bit now, but most of the righties in this D-backs lineup, Gabriel Moreno, they're just struggling. I think the D-backs need an injection of both defense and offense. So I think a guy like Jordan Lawler should definitely be called up for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Maybe it's short-lived, the everyday opportunities he can get if Ketel Marte comes back sooner rather than later. But also, you don't want to rush Ketel Marte. He has had hamstring issues the last couple of years to both his hamstrings, a soft tissue injury that can always be reoccurring. You want Ketel Marte to take as long as possible and to come back 100% fully healthy. So why not call up your top prospect who could both help you offensively and defensively, because you kind of need it right now. And then, like I mentioned, Lourdes Gurriel, is he finally waking up? Are we finally starting to see some signs of life from Gurriel? Because in that game on Friday, he was getting some action going in that 8th inning because Gurriel actually had a home run in that 8th inning. He actually had a pretty monster game with a couple hits, 3 RBIs on Friday. And then in the game on Sunday, Gurriel also had a couple hits. Overall, slash line still not very good. 177, 202, 367. But a series where he has a couple of multi-hit games, and he didn't play in game 2 against the Chicago Cubs. And so in the 2 games he played this series, he had multiple multi-hit games. Very curious to see if this is something going forward of Gurriel getting signs of life, because we know Gurriel is a streaky hitter. He's the kind of guy where it's like 3 weeks on, he can carry your offense. 3 weeks off, he's a black hole in your lineup. And right now, he could be coming out the other side of his slump where we could be getting really good Lourdes Gurriel going forward, where he might be able to carry this offense and help balance out this lineup with the lefties seemingly being the only guys providing any sort of offense. So hopefully this is Gurriel finally starting to wake up. Then the last thing we want to see is the back end rotation continuing to carry, because Brandon Pfaadt and Erod have been the bright spots of this D-backs rotation. Merrill Kelly's starting to pitch well, but Pfaadt has been the best D-back starter all season long. Like we say, if he limits the home runs, he's going to be fantastic. But even outside of that, he's pitched into the 6th inning every start this year. 4 earned runs or less in every single start. He has a 3.04 ERA. He's been incredible. And then Erod, he has been so good at attacking the strike zone. The K rate is insane in 2025. He does not look afraid. He is pounding the strike zone repeatedly. And I just love the way these two guys have looked in 25. Pfaadt looks like he's taking a major leap in his year 3. Erod looks like now that he's fully healthy, had a full offseason, ready to put 2024 behind him. I like the way the back end of the rotation looks for the D-backs right now. I think it's the bright spot of the rotation right now. So want to see more great Pfaadt, great Erod in this series against the Tampa Bay Rays. And I think Erod is going to have a good chance to do that, because we'll talk more about Erod in the podcast before his start, whatever podcast that is, Monday or Tuesdays. But Erod is a guy who spent a lot of time in the AL East, with the Boston Red Sox, spent some time with the Detroit Tigers, not in the AL East, obviously, but in the American League. So does have a lot of career appearances against the Tampa Bay Rays. So I think that will help Erod going into that start. Now that's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Doses.